following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, this is Ken Gidge, and this is The Art of Politics. This is a two-part series that we're doing about the arts. We have Representative David Danielson from
Bedford.
Bedford, okay, and you are?
I am a representative of Bedford. I sit on the Finance Committee, and I'm also a chairman of the Legislative Commission to study the economic impact of arts and culture in New Hampshire.
That's right. And last week, you gave me such a hard time. I am really mad at you.
I don't believe it was a hard time.
Oh, it was awful. You were just terrible to me. We have a disagreement, I would say. You know, but as you had said the week before, this is kind of your first venture into it.
Into arts?
The arts, studying
yes,
the arts.
Absolutely
and
true. Absolutely true. As I've said to you, when we first met, your first question to me was, well, what do you do in the arts? And I said, I have no knowledge of the arts. And he said, museums and anything? I said, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I belong to the Courier Museum. And I said, I belong to the New Hampshire Historical Museum. And you said, that's fine, that's enough.
That is. And it's a contribution.
Right. And so that was my start. And then getting involved with the arts and understanding a little bit more about them. I do collect movies too. I think we spoke about that one level.
Yeah.
I collect foreign movies, award-winning foreign movies. So I did have that kind of background, but nothing as in depth as you have and some of the members certainly some of the members of the commission. So it's been a learning process for me to learn a little bit about the different arts. Learn about their impact, learn about their history. It's been fun, quite frankly.
What did I say to you not to do?
I'm not sure.
Don't fall in love with these people?
Oh, with the artists?
Well, not with the artists, with the whole group that we were in.
Oh, yeah, but at that point I didn't even know what the group was. So it's
And the reason?
And even that, today, you don't know. We only meet once every 3 weeks.
Yes.
And so we don't socialize. So we only get to meet each other at our committee meetings. So do you know them? No, I have to say I don't know many of the members on our commission because you don't talk to them outside of the hall, outside of the meeting.
Well,
it's unfortunate.
Right.
Which is unfortunate.
But I always say to you, you've got to follow me on this. I always say this to you. You may not. I'm trying to get you to
I'm a
come.
Republican. I'm a New Hampshire native. I don't follow just because someone tells me to.
He's going to vote for Trump, I believe.
That's not what I said.
My experience is obviously a little different. I am, 4 terms representative in Commerce. I'm also a professional artist.
Committee of Commerce.
Right. And also the writer of HB 279 to study the economic impact of the arts.
Yep.
And it was done with myself and Representative Rice, another Republican, and a few other people who signed on to it. And it was for several reasons. Now, you step into this, and it's great that you're learning and you're seeing how many places and you're really thrilled. I have been here watching it and seeing it, and all of a sudden realizing that New Hampshire is really, really backwards.
And again, we spoke earlier at the last show, and I said I would disagree to say that it's backwards. Just an unequivocal statement to say that it's backwards. I just can't agree with
But
that.
I say you don't know enough.
That may be true.
So you must follow.
That may be true. I don't know enough.
He's not going to follow me, ladies and gentlemen. No, look. We want businesses to come to the state of New Hampshire. We do that. So when I got into forming the committee and starting to learn some of the things myself, which I didn't know, first of all, why are we getting so little money, $297,000 for the arts? I had no idea. Why weren't they educating us, the people from the arts, coming to the state representatives and saying, look, we need your help because we're number 45 in the United States for the funding of arts.
Right. I think that's important, and one of the things we've learned, that you've learned, as we've gone forward, is in your particular case, you were unaware of some of the things that we are doing in the state. When we brought out some of the things that are going on, for example, in the southwestern part of the state, central part of the state, the Lebanon area, that part up there on the Connecticut River, you were unaware that some of these things, and you're in the business. And that's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for someone to be in a business.
You're really a good political person.
And not know what's going on in those particular areas.
But I don't care how you put it. If we are 45, and we have talked about this, after I got on the phone and called 50, which was Arizona, that means they're the last in the United States.
Right.
And I get
last in the United States to funding.
For funding.
State funding.
So I get on the phone to Arizona, and they think it's a big joke. They say, no, what we have done here is the legislature has put a small fee on corporations, new and renewed, and last year we made $1.4 million. And the United States, the government, state government, federal government, gives everyone $700,000 if they can match that grant. So this is what influences the states to at least go to that pot. And so they're up to 2 point something. So they basically have not in really 50. So that sort of moves us down to 46. So I got on the phone and I called 46, which is Washington State. And Washington State told me something very interesting. They said that if the matching fund is $700,000, if it's $700,000 at the federal government, which gives every state, that the legislature will match exactly that, so they will get that money. All right? But, excuse me, what I also learned is something that we should have been doing, is they have the Heritage Group, which is made up of artists, people interested, involved in the community that gets together once a week before, because let's face it, we here in Wisconsin, they do more politics. They spend more days there. And we don't have that. We don't have an arts caucus. And that's something we're probably going to have to do. So now 46 all of a sudden becomes not 46 anymore. We're now 47 because they are getting more money for the arts. So when you say to me that, well, this is taking place, this is happening, this is going on, I don't have to know all of that. I know all of what's generally is going on. But I know if you want businesses to come into the state of New Hampshire, several things, probably in the top 5, is the culture, the arts. If they're going to bring a business in, and they're going to grow the business, and they're going to connect the business, and they're going to hire people from New Hampshire, educated people, and bring educated people in. They want to know what the state offers people. And when they take a look and see that New Hampshire is 47th for helping the arts, supporting the arts money-wise, this may not mean much to you and me because we know it's fairly vibrant. But that company alone would go, what's going on? Are they backwoods? What are they up there? There's no art. There's no culture. Well, that's not true. But it's the mindset of these major companies or companies that wish to come in. This is the important thing. I know you think that everything is vibrant, and the appearance is that it is. And Nashua is growing, as we have talked about. But we must let the state contribute more, move up the ladder so when companies wish to come and look at areas to place their businesses, New Hampshire will not be 47th.
There may be,
That's important, David.
There may be actually, as I listen to you speak, there's actually probably more of a philosophical difference there too, because I heard you say a number of times that the state must, the state must, the state must. You know, as a Republican, I would look at that and say the state doesn't have to must. If anything, the state can contribute to an environment that would allow things to happen, but for the state to say the state must do this, the state must do this, I would probably, and I'm going to guess now, I'm going to guess that the legislature, for example, would not look favorably upon the state doing this, the state supporting this. Should the state contribute, which is where I think we probably would agree.
$320,000 next year, we don't even match the fund. We don't even do that, David. Now, I don't care as a Republican. When I say we have to, you have to, we must do this. And why? Because as we know, we've sat down and we've run over the numbers, the both of us, and we found out at least for every dollar spent on the arts, there's a $10 return. That's how we sell it. In fact, how this all came about, actually, you are vice chair of Division I of Finance. And arts people came before you, and your question to them was?
Well, it was an arts people that came to it. It was the commission.
The commission, yes.
It was the Cultural Resources Commission who came in, and the question was, on the presentation, my question was, and so what kind of revenue do you folks drive?
And they went absolutely after that, and after they came into a meeting, they went ballistic. No one had ever asked that question before.
And unfortunately, it calls upon, it looks back on the legislator itself to ask why wasn't the legislature asking these kinds of questions in some of these different things.
Why wasn't the people who coming before you, David, mentioning this?
I'm not sure. It's their culture that they've been put into that. For example, I've asked in some situations why some of the departments coming in simply are there to explain their expenses.
Okay, just stick to the arts. Let's just stick to the arts.
Well, but it's a cultural thing. You're asking a question.
So you're saying that the people who are running the arts group, it's cultural, so $297,000 this year is okay?
No, that's not what I said. I said it's cultural in that when they come to the house, what are they expecting to say? What are they expecting to see? Again, I'll go to another department, and these departments come in and they expect they're going to defend their expenses. I'm asking, why are you doing it that way? It's the same way you did it last year, wasn't it? Or last year, you did it the last 5 years. So why don't we do it differently? If you're going to give up, for example, on HHS, if you're going to ask for more money, what programs are you discounting in order to get new monies? And we don't get that kind of discussion, Ken. We've not asked
but that's...
So that's what I meant about
culture
in the house itself.
That's my point. we were not educated as representatives regarding the arts. That's why the committee came into existence.
And as I've said to you, the art community didn't do a great job in trying to educate the legislators as well.
You're correct, but if there is the art, people being paid to do and to give monies out, part of their job is to attempt to get more so they can contribute more, so every dollar that goes out, 10 comes in. We didn't know this. That's how we sell this.
But again, that's part of the work of the commission. Part of the work of the commission is to try to determine what is the impact of the arts and cultural businesses in New Hampshire.
Or what could it be?
What could it? Well, that's not what you wrote the legislation. I don't think it says what could it be. It says what is, I believe, is what the legislation says. So
no, you're correct. But as we
thank you.
Go through, yes, he's trying to make this a little lighter. I'm not going to make it. Not this time. He had me last time. I'm going to get you this time. Look, I understand what you're saying. I understand the cheapness of this state. Take my word for it. I've been up there going on my 8th year. I know. I got it. I understand nobody wants to pay anything for anything.
I'll stop you too. From a marketing standpoint, when you say something about cheap refers to quality. I don't believe New Hampshire is not quality oriented. So I would take exception to somebody saying it's cheap.
And you know something? This is one of the problems why the arts groups can't get more money. And it's not you personally. It's people going, no, we're not cheap. We're frugal. We're Yankee ingenuity. Look, $297,000 for the arts, and we can't even meet the matching, and the 50th, worse than us, gets 2.1. 46 gets what? 1.1 million, and we get $297,000. David,
the next question is going to be
yes.
asked is, and we spoke about this offline, but the next question is going to be asked is, and so what will you do with that money?
What would you do with the money? You got to be kidding me.
So
do you know how many people, how many things come into to this organization that hands out the money looking for assistance? Private artists, mostly nonprofit groups, there's never enough money. Never enough. They come in and they ask for $10, they get 50 cents. There's too much. It's not a matter of what's going to happen with the money. It's a matter of there's so many requests for assistance that even $2 million is not enough.
Okay, so again, from my experience,
and by the way, how did we come to the $1, $10? And that was, we pushed that. Last year, they said, because of what they did, they're responsible. They said this is the people in the arts commission.
Cultural resources.
Cultural resources. Okay, said from the money that they put out, they know that 34 or $38 million was made. So to say 1 to 10 is very simple. One other quick thing, and I'm sure you have 100 other things to say, and that is, look, the arts is, when I say you've got to do it, the politician today has to understand something. If you want to cut something, no matter what it is, you want something in return. You want a positive return. I don't care what it is. If you give more money, you want a positive return. But when you see something that you put $1 down and it brings $10 back, and one very important politician, who we will not mention, said what to you when you brought that up?
It's not the job of the state to invest in money, invest its money into the future.
And that's all we do. We invest in everything.
Well, and you can make that argument. In fact,
we want a positive return, don't we? No matter what we put the money.
You're talking more like a Republican every one of these steps of the way. Every time you say that, I think, God, Ken, you're coming over. Slowly but surely. Baldessaro has been doing an excellent job in converting you, I think. Or, heaven forfend, you are already.
You know something?
You are already.
You are a lot smarter than I thought you
are
were.
already converted.
No, I am not. What did your Republicans say? Your Republican friends said, that's not what we do, we don't invest.
Right.
And I'm saying, trying to get across to everyone, we, the state, when it gives money out, always invest. We want a positive return. How many industries, we know tourism is one, how many industries that you put $1 out and you are going to get so many dollars back?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I think today...
Is arts one?
Sure.
No, is that a good investment?
Yes, I think it is.
Okay, so don't you think if we at least got to the point where we could get the matching fund to make a 1.1 million instead of 297,000?
Right. And then the comeback to that, to my earlier question to you that you responded well at, was the idea of what do you do with that money? And indeed it does mean we make grants. We give grants to different arts groups, different cultural groups, in order for them to develop. For example, I referred to some of the Manchester groups, cultural groups,
yes,
that do things. And I think they do some down here, too.
Yes, yes.
I read a little bit about
yes.
that. So, down here being Nashua.
Yeah.
So, those groups could benefit from some of that money, bringing that idea in developing those businesses, because if those cultures see the value of being here, and I mean from a qualitative standpoint, I mean just go there because there's benefits.
And businesses who look at the state,
businesses aren't looking.
Culture.
Well, as I said to you before, that my involvement with economic development over the years has never been looking at arts and culture per se, but what they do look at is the quality of life. And I think that's one of the things that we've got to talk about, not today necessarily, but the quality of life and how that's impacted by arts and culture.
Excuse me. Arts is the quality of life.
Well, I think arts and culture.
They bring, well, what creates culture? Art.
Okay, is that so? I don't know that answer.
Would you think art creates a culture?
I don't have the answer, Ken. Really, I don't.
You
I have to go study some more. I know the cultural issues in arts.
I'm not sure if anybody can hear that, but it is raining like hell outside. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
That better be raining on the roof.
Actually, I thought that was the gods.
The gods?
The gods that are coming because they're very upset with you.
Was it the Republican god?
I think the gods are very upset with you, and they're taking issue with some of the things you've had to say.
and he will not invite me to his show.
That's not true. You've already been on my show.
Okay.
That's not true.
I think we have disagreements, but I'll just say this from what I understand. Look, I see where and hear where you're coming from, and you're right. You're right. We are cheap. You don't think so, but we are. But one thing what we want, if we put $1 out, we would like that dollar back.
Absolutely.
At least.
Absolutely. And I think we do agree for sure on the idea that we have to do more to bring more to the arts. And we've talked about different segments of the arts that our state hasn't even looked at yet, not well. I mean, I think we talked about earlier about the arts and health. $30,000? Really? $30,000?
Yeah.
So there's more things that we can do. I don't think we've had an educated...
Do we need more money?
I don't think we've had an educated look...
Do we need more money? Why don't you say yes?
Do we need more money? Well, because I don't have your next comeback...
The answer is yes.
But your next comeback would say how much, and I'd have to
tell
tell you,
I
don't know.
47 in the United States for supporting the arts. 297. Do you know there are 3 other states I have not called? If I call one more state and they making $1 more than us, I'm going to scream. We look foolish up here.
I don't know how you can say that. I just don't know, because I have no way of...
I do.
No, okay.
Because you're going to take my word for it, a good Democrat like me who thinks I'm turning over to be a Republican.
It's your show.
No, that has never stopped you before. No, it's our show. Well, first of all, let me just say, because we have to write a report, okay?
Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah,
we got to write a report, and my part of it is I'm going to need some help with you, because the arts are under one roof, under one umbrella with 3 other groups. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it's truly
That's within the commission. What we're talking about is within the commission.
So the problem is one person comes up and speaks for all four.
That's Commissioner.
I say take the arts out of it, stand alone. Now we can do something. The representatives can come in. When somebody says we do not invest here in the state of New Hampshire, and we go $10 for everyone, yeah, we do invest in the state of New Hampshire. We would like a return. All of a sudden, maybe this is the way we can sell the arts.
I'm not sure. As I said to you earlier, it's going to, the folks that they're going to be speaking to are going to ask those kinds of questions is, okay, if I give you this much money, how much, you're going to tell me you're going to generate that, how are we going to spend it? And you've articulated how it could be spent. They're going to ask, is that our role? And so what you're going to get into that academic discussion or philosophical discussion is it our role? We feel strongly, you and I, feel strongly that, yeah, that is the role. The state is always, you know, it's interesting. If we go back and start to look at history, and I'm sure you've got a better idea of arts history than I have, because I don't have one. But I go back and look into the politic of, in art, this is the politics of art of politics, but we go back and we look all the way back to the Roman times. The Romans used art to bring about the quality of life in their communities. And it's gone forward for how many years, you know?
And how in New Hampshire can we go backwards?
Only 10 centuries. I don't know if
how
we're going
can we do this?
But again, your assumption is because people don't do it the way you want it done, it's going backwards.
No.
I just don't
hold
agree
on
with
a
that.
second. 47 other states are ahead of us. We are at the bottom for giving money to the arts. You know yourself, you've admitted yourself what arts does. We must do something.
Do you have a return number on each of those states? Can you go back and look at don't go back at all of them. Just go back and look at states 50 to 41. And go back and say, well, what did you get for a return on the dollars?
Excuse me. If you think any of those other states would spend a penny more than they had to spend without getting a return, are you saying that New Hampshire is smarter than they are?
I'm saying we're certainly more frugal than they are. And so I would say to you, if you don't have a number, if you don't have a mathematical equation that says for every dollar that this state invested, they got X amount of dollars back, that would be a good thing.
You know, David, look, hold on a second. This particular type of philosophy has to stop. It really does. And the reason why, in my opinion, is this. If you sell the arts for what it is, meaning money, I'm not talking arts at all, money-wise, $1, $10. When the politician you talk to says to you, that's not what we do, we don't invest. If you get 10 people walking up to him and saying, excuse me, we don't invest, that's not true. We do invest. And we do want money back. And when that starts happening, all of a sudden they're going to stop saying, well, you know, we are investing, aren't we?
You know, as you said that, I was thinking, because I'm involved with some of the other opioid clinics and some of those things that are starting up. And, you know, we look at you know, the idea of civitism and the fact that we spend $30,000 a year on a person in the prison, $39,000, I guess it is. And wouldn't it be better for us to train this person? It's interesting that our Constitution says it's the responsibility of the state to rehabilitate criminals.
Yes.
It's in our Constitution. And so, because back then, only 250 years ago, they understood that if we rehabilitated criminals, it would cost us less in the future. So, you know, it's within the culture of the state.
And it was the Republican Party up at our last meeting that took $70,000 away from that, wasn't it?
No, they didn't take $70,000 out of that. Interesting you bring that up, because that was more of a county issue, not a state issue. Because the county said, look, why don't we not, what they didn't say is don't do this. They said, try to subcontract this rather than take the full vote.
You're right.
So, you know, again, I have to
one other thing, because we're running a little over, but I think everybody will understand. You know, Dave, I have been there a little bit longer than you, not much. But I and I was one of the county commissioners. And
You're county commissioner here?
I was one of the county commissioners at one time. Yes, Hillsborough.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh, good for you.
Well, no, I'm sorry. One of the delegates, excuse me.
Okay.
All right,
That's
not
a
the
little
commission.
different.
No,
Yep.
yeah, it is. They get paid money.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
We're volunteers.
we don't get anything.
We're
All right.
volunteers.
And before our group came 4.5 nurses, social workers, and they said, we really saved New Hampshire $1 million, over $1 million a year. A judge came in and said, these people are so important to us. Police came in, these people are so important. We call them, that's it. Social workers say, we keep people out of jail. We keep families together when we can. All these things. And that very same person who said, we don't invest, and we're not going to mention his name, said, no, we're going to cut that money to save money for the state. Now hold on, let me think.
No, it's interesting because I have
for the taxpayers.
Yeah, I have an interest.
But where is the 500? Now, hold on a second. My point is to be made is this. If we would have had those 4.5 social workers right now, they would have been at the forefront of what's taking place with the drugs.
Yeah, and again, you don't know that, but to go back to the
We
individual,
know that.
Go back
We
to the
know
individual
that
you're speaking of is that, you know, we have to look at the county as because I was chairman of the Republican Hillsborough County Republican Committee,
Okay.
which is different than
Yes.
the Nashua County Party, the Nashua County Party and the Manchester Nashua are different from the rest of the towns. And this person that we're speaking of is from a small town. And I'm constantly curious when we go through these discussions in the county level, is he arguing from the point of view of the small community he comes from, or is he looking at it with the glasses of the entire county, which is what we're supposed to be looking at it from, you know? And that's,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
One thing is, because we're talking basically about the same person without mentioning names.
Right.
This is the individual who said to you when you said, hey, there's an investment, and he said, we don't invest.
Right.
Here's the same person who said, we're going to cut the money from the social workers to save money for the taxpayers, although they proved with a judge, etc., that they really more than made their money back. We also know right now that if they were there, because these are the front lines, they would have been in a case, the first responders. They would have been the parakeet in the cave that quickly picks something up that something is going on because they're the family. And this is the same person who did this. Now, that person has to change his thinking, or that person has to go.
well, or what we got to do.
Because investment is an investment. $1 for 10 we
Or
need.
what we got in the point of what we're trying to do and the point of what you're saying here, I think, is that we've got to demonstrate to that person and to others that there is value in the arts, and there's value to the state for the arts and to the community. And I don't know if we have enough time on the commission. I really don't know if we have enough time to go through some of the things what we were talking about before, the therapeutic value, for example, of arts, educational value of arts. We talked about them, arts being involved in prisons, you know, to address some of the anger issues that are there. Our commission doesn't have enough time.
The problem is that we're not doing this, and this is nothing new around
That's
the country.
true. That's absolutely true.
So
and it's being done somewhat
so,
here, but
yeah,
not
yeah.
much.
So
not much.
my point, quite simply, is, and I've got to convince you, because you are one of the commission, you are one of the chairs, that we've got to take arts out.
And like I said, I disagree
No,
with
we
that.
don't need. We need it a standalone.
As I said to you, I just, from my limited experience, I think it will be a tactically difficult thing to try to achieve.
Will you help?
I'll evaluate it again, Ken. As I said to you, I'm not sure it's a successful strategy, but I'll take a look at it.
It's a strategy.
It's a strategy.
We've got to get it out of that atmosphere.
It's a strategy.
We've got to get it away from this one particular person who rules When you say investment, that's not what we do. That person, for 1 for 10, says we don't invest?
You're gonna, yeah, but see, that's what I mean. That person that you're referring to is still going to be in the mix, no matter how you cut
And you're right. And you know, Dave, you're the only person who said that to him, and you're on. He's in the same committee as you're in. All right.
Right.
Did I come in and say something to him?
No.
Did Fred Rice, who's on the bill, come in and say something to him? Did several of the artists who are state representatives come in and say something to him?
Nope.
Why?
Because they didn't know.
Because we didn't know. All right.
Now, someone could make an argument, as I've made to you on a couple of cases, when you said I didn't know about this, and I didn't know about this, and I didn't know about this, relative to some of the things that are going on. I've said, why didn't you know these things? Because there's certainly enough channels, promotional channels, to make you aware of these things. You say, I didn't look.
Dave, you just started doing this.
Yep.
I've been doing it my whole life.
Yep.
This is a great experience and awakening for you. All I am trying to do is say, we can't be 47. We can't have businesses looking at us and saying, that can't be done.
I agree. But understand, I'm saying, how do we get better? I'm not going to be criticizing why we're 47.
Okay.
I want to know how we get better.
I have a question to ask you. We did have lunch together. Not telling you, did this person call?
Yep.
You know who this person is?
I don't know the person, but I know
you
this
know
person called.
Okay. Well, what we're trying to do, and you just, I'm just filled you in, we're trying to get this large corporation that's in every city, if they would, and we're going to start, and so you and I and a few others, adopt an artist. And what it quite simply means is that if you adopt an artist in this corporation now, anybody can do it. Say young, but also someone who's a professional or bordering on professional. Because why teach them to be honest if you can't earn money? So anyway, if they could do that and, you know, maybe pay them $300 to adopt them for a month. Maybe a group would like to get together and adopt many. Well, what happens is it goes into this corporation. They're doing a good deed. People come into the business. They're going to see that they're into the arts. All of a sudden, New Hampshire will start climbing up. And all of a sudden, that man who says, no, we don't invest in the arts, may go down one day that cheap and buy a new car.
Like I said to you, I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea, and I mentioned to you that there's a real estate agency down here, down here on Main Street, that has a number of paintings on their wall that are for sale. A lot of them done by some of the artists that we spoke about, some of the young street artists that we talked about.
Yeah.
So, again, there's that attitude here in Nashua as well. So I think it's a great idea. I think we should good luck with that.
No, this is part of, what we got to come up with, hopefully, in the report that we can say we're going to do something. Right. All right. Well, we've actually run over, but the God said we could do that a little.
I can't believe that we ran over. We have such little things to say to
I know.
each other.
We've had absolutely nothing to say. He asked me, what are we going to talk about? I mean, I'm not going to give good answers. What do you mean? You haven't stopped talking. You've made sense.
Which is very difficult.
And it's a pleasure to see you compared to Al Baldessaro, who makes no sense at all. None at all, Al.
And actually, I speak like I come from here.
Yeah. All right. How can people get in touch with you? You're going to be back, right?
Again, whenever
you're coming back. We're going to be. We need to talk more about this.
D.Danielson, DANIELSON @comcast.net.
You on Facebook?
On Facebook, yep, and it's David Danielson. Just be cautious because there's a number of David Danielsons, and as I said to you, one of the ways you can pick it off right away is my son and I are together in period costume.
He's an odd person. That's what he is. All right. This is Ken Gidge, and this has been The Art of Politics. We have been talking about the arts. We're going to be doing more about that. I think that it's probably one of the most important things taking place, especially when we find out that $1 will bring you 10. That's an investment. We have to get our state legislators to start thinking the term. If you're going to give money to anything, you want at least something positive coming back. One other thing, this is public access television. No place in the world that you could get away with what we do, go back and forth. There's been no commercials. We've gone for probably an hour and 45 minutes. Nonstop. We apologize for the people who are running the cameras who are saying, what are they doing? But they're going to let us do this. Remember, public access is so, so, so important. And remember, if you wish to come in and sit down for 5 minutes and talk positive about us or say something awful about what we do, that's fine.
Ken, thank you for having me.
Very
I
welcome.
appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And next time, my name is Ken Gidge.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.